We started. Okay, Tal. So today we're gonna talk about a very interesting story that comes all the way from the Alter Rebbe. You know who the Alter Rebbe is?
No.
Okay. The Alter Rebbe is the one who founded the Hasidus of Chabad. You know how you like Rabbi Yossi,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Why do you like Rabbi Yossi?
Because he brings the
Yeah?
joy.
He brings joy?
Yeah.
Wow, that's so nice of you to say. He brings joy to your life. Right? He's a very happy person, right? Right. And he's a Chassid. He's a Chassid of Chabad, of Lubavitch, right? Of the Rebbe. Right? Now the Rebbe is the seventh Rebbe, and this story is about, it comes from the first Rebbe, the first one. So there are seven Rebbes, Rebbeim, right?
Rabbi.
And rabbis, okay. And this story comes from the first one. He's the first one who told the story. He actually made it up, okay? And it's a mashal. And maybe in the end, if you think about really what does this mean, what does the story mean, maybe we'll discuss later what does it mean, okay? Okay. So this is how the story goes. Once upon a time, there was a king. And this king was a very, very good king. Everyone loved this king, okay? And the king had an only son. And do you know what we call the son of a king? Do you remember? And what? Yes. It's on the tip of your tongue.
Prince.
Very good, a prince. Yes, a prince. Okay. So what do you call the son of a king?
A prince.
I didn't hear you.
A prince.
A prince. That's right. Okay. So the prince really loved his father, and the king loved the prince, right?
Wait, what?
The king loved the prince, his son, very much. Okay. Then one day, something happened. Do you remember what happened?
Yep, I remembered.
What happened?
He got very, very sick.
Who got very, very sick?
The prince.
The prince got very, very sick. And when you get sick, who do you go to?
The doctor.
The doctor. But this is a king, so he doesn't go to the doctor. The doctor comes to him, right? So he calls the doctor. And the doctor looks at the prince. And then what happens? Do you remember?
He can't fix him.
He can't fix him. Do you know how to say when someone is sick and you can't fix him? There's a word for that. Do you know what the word is?
I forgot.
Heal.
Like I heal a person.
Okay, a person heals from a sickness or from a disease. Okay, right? In Hebrew, we say refuah, right? So he couldn't bring refuah to the prince. So then the king said, well, maybe this doctor can't bring refuah to my prince. Let's bring all the doctors. And they bring all the doctors in the kingdom. And are they able to bring refuah to the prince? No. How would you feel if you had a son and he was really sick and you called all the doctors in the kingdom and no one could bring refuah, heal your son? How would you feel?
Lonely and sad.
Lonely and sad. Oh, that's so true. That is so true. When we have someone that we love and they're sick, right? And they can't be with us properly, we feel lonely, right? Because we miss them. They're not their usual selves. We feel lonely and sad. So the king said, I need some kind of a good advice to solve this situation. Yes.
I know what it is.
You know what the advice is?
Yeah.
Okay. So what does he do?
He called the doctor who is the prince of the whole kingdom.
He calls his advisors, right? And he said, how do we make my son better? How do we bring refuah to my son, right? How do we heal my son? And then his advisors say, well, there is someone, a very wise and old person, right? And maybe he would know how to heal your son, how to bring refuah to your son, right? So they call, what do? They call? They call the wise and old person, right? And he comes in and he looks at the prince. And he looks at the prince and he checks him. And then he says, Oy vey.
Oy vey.
Oy vey. And the king says, Oy vey, what? What happened? And the doctor and the old and wise person says, there may be a cure, but the cure is very, very unique. What? Say it. Well, how do you bring the cure? How do you heal the prince? The doctor, the king said, I want to heal my prince. Bring refuah to my prince. How do we do this? How?
By getting a ginormous diamond.
From where?
From...
Where do you get a ginormous diamond? The kings? The wise man says, it's okay. You got it right. You get a ginormous. We have to get the most ginormous diamond from the king's crown. And we take that ginormous diamond, right? The biggest diamond in the kingdom that sits on the king's crown, right? And what do we do with it? Do we enjoy it? Do we look at it? What do we do with the ginormous diamond? You can show me. What do you do? You can show me what, maybe you forgot the word, but what do you do with it? Remember? You grind it into yes, say it. Into a soup. Very good. You grind it into a powder, and you take that powder and you make a soup, like a potion out of it, right? And then if the prince drinks from that soup, I like that word soup, okay, he drinks from that soup, maybe he will be cured. Very good. That's another word for refuah. Cured, healed, refuah, right? That's very good. Maybe he will be cured. So what do you think the king said? The most ginormous diamond in the kingdom that sits on the king's crown? Is he going to give that up to bring a cure, a refuah to his son?
Yes.
Yes. What does that tell us about how much the king loves his son?
A lot.
A lot.
Like a trillion billion.
Like a trillion billion for sure. Right?
Yeah.
So the king says, here's my crown. Take the diamond out of it, the most ginormous diamond, and make the soup that will bring a cure to my son.
Wait, I thought he makes this.
The king? No. King only talks. The king rules by talking. It doesn't do anything. The people in the kingdom do things. Okay? Okay? Yep. So, the the wise person, the old and wise person, the zaken, goes to work, and he starts grinding the diamond, and he grinds it, and he grinds it, and is a diamond a hard or a soft object?
Soft? No, how?
Very hard. It's the hardest substance in the world. Diamond. Very, very
How
hard.
can you do that? How can you do
Do you know
that?
how you grind a diamond?
No.
With another diamond.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. That's the only way to cut a diamond. With another diamond.
But but if you already grind a diamond, then
Yeah.
and if somebody the person is sick, like he's sick,
Right.
then he can't find another diamond.
He doesn't, well, he takes another small diamond, right? And he starts cutting the big diamond, and he grinds it, and he grinds it, and he grinds it. And then he makes the soup. The potion that brings refuah to the prince. But now what happens? The prince is lying in bed, and his lips are sealed shut. He's not feeling well. His breath is breathing through his nose very slowly.
Wait, is that the Doctor King? Is that
The doctor, the wise doctor. And the wise doctor tries to give the prince the potion, right? The soup, and the soup spills on his cheeks and on his pillow and on his bed, and even it spills on the floor because he's trying to, it doesn't go in. It spills on the floor. People step on the soup that was made from the most ginormous, expensive diamond in the world, right? People step on this precious soup, all so that we could what? Cure
the prince?
Cure the prince. Finally, the prince opens his lips to take a breath, and one drop of the soup goes in. And then do you remember what happens? The prince drinks that drop, and he opens his eyes and says, Abba!
It's like, Abba!
And everyone starts dancing and singing in the kingdom. The prince is cured. He has a refuah. You know what happens when you're sick and then you're cured? You're healthier than you've ever been. The healthiest you've ever been. If you were sick and then you're cured, you're the healthiest you've ever been. That's how it works. So, that is the story of the prince and the king. Now, let's try to think, okay? This story, like we said, was made up by the first Chabad Rebbe. His name is Rabbi Schneor Zalman. Okay? That's his name. Now, when we think about a king who's good and kind, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Who's the king that's good and kind in our lives?
Is it?
Huh?
Hashem?
Say it.
Hashem?
Hashem, very good. Hashem. Excellent. And, okay, so if Hashem is the king, then who's the prince?
The one who got like.
Right, but so if Hashem is, like we said, Hashem is the king in the story. This really talks about Hashem. So the prince in the story, who does that really talk about?
Prince.
Yeah, the prince. Talks about you and me. Every Jew is the prince in the story. Every Jew is the prince in the story. Okay?
Mhm.
And what's the disease? The disease is the fact that we don't see Hashem. Right?
Yeah, we
So
don't
we
see
feel, sometimes we feel very far, sometimes we feel very close. Right? But we don't see Hashem. Right? And who's the wise man who brings the cure? That's the Baal Shem Tov. He is the teacher of the teacher of Rav Shneur Zalman, who told this story. Okay, he's like the grandfather. Okay, the grandfather of. So he's this wise person who comes to Hashem and says, we have to take the biggest secrets that are in your crown and bring them down and grind them and bring them down, so that even if one Jew gets a little taste of that, he wakes up and says, I want to be with Hashem. I love Hashem. He's really where I ought to be. And that's why Rabbi Yossi talks about Hashem all the time. All the time, right? You said it, right?
But I also know he has kids.
That's right. He has kids.
And I see him kids.
Uh-huh.
I see his kids.
Okay. So, are you ready for the questions part of the story?
Yeah, but let's see Rabbi Yossi and tell him I said hi.
Okay. Well, if he sees this video, he'll get the hi from you right away. Maybe his children will see this video. Okay. I'll tell him you said hi. Okay. So, so this is the story, really, of the Jewish people, right?
Mm-hmm.
The king is Hashem. Every Jew, right, is in this world, and he could be in a state where he feels disconnected from Hashem. That's the sickness. That's the disease, right? He feels disconnected, right?
Yep.
But then if he gets a little bit of Hasidus, he learns a little bit of Torah.
It doesn't have to be a little bit. It has to be a teensy bit.
Teensy bit, right? He said one drop. Then he wakes up and says, Hashem is here. Hashem is there. Where is Hashem?
Hashem is everywhere.
Hashem is everywhere.
But that's true.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true.
But people think it's not true.
Well, that's because that's how Hashem made this world, so that we could think that way. But the truth is that He's everywhere.
Why are you smiling at me?
All right.
Why?
Well, I'm actually smiling at the thought that Hashem is everywhere. I really, it makes me, it's a very happy